HomeoCare, the chain of world-class homeopathy clinics with world-class care.
Hello friends, welcome to the second lecture on the series Pediatric Case Taking in Homeopathy. If you have seen my last video where I have talked of one aspect of the pediatric case taking, that was the sociability aspect. So as I told you last time that there are 3 points by which we try to understand the basic temperament of the child. That is the SAD axis, SAD, the sociability, activity and the destructibility axis. In this second video, I am going to talk on the second part of the axis, that is the activity. What do you mean by activity? When we talk of activity, we try to assess the child whether the child is an hyperactive child or a normoactive child. Now many times I have seen the biggest mistake which every homeopath does in his practice is he sees the child is running around in the clinic, he's playing, he's very restless, hyperactive, he touches lot of things in the clinic and he does not listen to you. So a homeopath assesses that this child is an hyperactive child, and when he goes back to the repertory, he selects a rubric restlessness, and most of the time they select the rubric restlessness from the mind section. Now friends, mind you, this is the biggest mistake which every homeopath does. What are we doing? We are seeing the child who is a restless child, a physically restless child moving here and there in the clinic, but we are going back to the repertory and taking the rubric in the mind section restlessness. Mind you, this is wrong. So in this video, I am going to talk on this second aspect, activity aspect, that is the hyperactivity aspect. Now if you search for the word restlessness in the repertory, in Boger-Bonninghausen characteristic repertory, you see restlessness mentioned at 2 places, in the mind section and in the sensation section. In the sensation section, it is given as restlessness corporeal, which means that bodily restlessness. So what mistake we are doing? We are seeing the child who is an hyperactive child, a physically hyperactive child, and we take the rubric in the mind section. That is a mistake. So in this video, what I am going to talk about is what is hyperactivity, how to see the hyperactivity, and what are the types of hyperactivity. So when you talk of types of hyperactivity, there are 2 types of hyperactivity. Hyperactivity at the level of mind and hyperactivity at the level of body. So hyperactive mental and hyperactive physical. These 2 are completely different. Now when you see a child, how do you assess this hyperactivity? So let us see the point by which we see how we can assess the level of hyperactivity in the child. So there are 6 points, as I mentioned in my book Essential of Pediatrics, by which we try to see the activity of the child. So the first point is the level of activity. Now what do you mean by level of activity? What we try to see is we try to see whether the child, what is the ratio of the child, he being physically very active and physically very passive. So you see whether overall the child is physically more hyperactive compared to his normal activity or is less inactive in his daily routine. So this point of level of activity, which is the ratio of the child's active periods to his inactive or passive period, is taken as the level of activity, and this is the point which we try to see, and we see if the child is more hyperactive, we take the rubric hyperactive physical. Again, see, there is a difference between hyperactive physical and hyperactive mental. So the first point, that is a level of activity which we see when the child is moving around, he is physically more active compared to his passive period, then we understand this child is an hyperactive child and a hyperactive physical child. Then there are other points, 5 more points we try to assess the child, and when we see this child these 5 points, we are now trying to see whether the child is an mentally hyperactive or mentally hypoactive or normoactive child. So the second point is the threshold of responsiveness, which means that what is the sensitivity of the child to the surrounding stimulus, that is the touch, the light, the noise, the smell. So physically, when we see a child, the threshold of responsiveness, if the threshold of responsiveness is very low, which means the child reacts very hyper to this stimuli. Like if you hug the child and the child is very aggressively say, no, don't hug me, that means the child's threshold of responsiveness is very low. A small stimulus can evoke a big reaction in this child. So try to assess what is the threshold of responsiveness of the child to the stimulus such as touch, smell, vision, sound. These responses we have to see. So a hyperactive mental child will have a very low threshold of response. That means a low stimulus can evoke a response in this child. Whereas a normoactive child, if you hug him, they are quite comfortable. Then the next point what we try to see is the intensity of reaction. This child is stimulated. Now how intense the child reacts to this stimulus. So a hyperactive mental child, a child who is hyperactive mentally, will react loudly to this stimulus. So if there is a small smell around in the environment, the hyperactive mental child will react with this small smell in a very loud way. Yuck! No, I don't want. Whereas a normoactive child, if small smell is there around, he is quite comfortable in the environment. So the intensity of reaction for a hyperactive mental child is very high. They react loudly. The fourth point on this reaction, on this aspect, is the rhythmicity. What do we mean by rhythmicity? Rhythmicity means the biological functions of a child, like getting hungry, getting sleep, going for stools, urine. What are these? How are these seen in the child? If a child is there who has got a predictable time to go to stools, a predictable time to go to bed, predictable time for hunger, they are at a particular time they get hungry, then these are called as a normal rhythming of the child, and these are a normoactive child. Whereas a child or an infant who has got unpredictable time to stools, to urine, to hunger, to sleep, they sleep sometimes, they erratically they sleep, they sometimes sleep at any time, they wake up anytime, you cannot predict what the child is going to do, then these are called as hyperactive mental child. Many times I have seen that the parents in a normoactive child can predict, okay, this is 8 o'clock, now my child, it is a time for my child to pass the stool, and that particular moment the child will pass stool. So their biological rhythm or the biological clock is a balance, is in a rhythm. So that is a normoactive child. Next point what we try to see is the distractibility of the child. How easily the child gets distracted. So when a child is in an environment, in a normal environment, and if there is a little sound here and there, does the child get distracted easily? So a hyperactive mental child will get very easily distracted to this sound, whereas a normoactive child will not get distracted and can continue doing his work. So we try to understand how easily the child gets distracted. And the last point in this aspect of assessing the hyperactive is with what is the attention span and persistence of a child to do an activity. Suppose a child is being told to do an activity. A hyperactive mental child will not complete that activity. If some obstacles are there, if some problems are there, if something is not going right, a hyperactive mental child will get easily frustrated and he will not complete the task, whereas a normoactive child will have a lot of persistence, lot of patience, and they will complete the task. So these are the basic 6 points by which we try to assess the hyperactivity of the child, and not only hyperactivity of the child, but we also try to see whether the child is an hyperactive at the level of mind, that is mental hyperactivity, or at the level of body, that is the physical that the hyperactive at the level of body, physical hyperactiveness. Again, mind you, don't confuse between hyperactive at the level of mind and hyperactive at the level of body. They both are different. So we have different rubrics for hyperactive mental and hyperactive physical. Now I will show you certain children and how to assess the activity of the child. So be patient, have a look at this video, and in this next 15 to 20 minutes I am going to show you various children, how they are reacting to this particular point, and then we will assess whether they are hyperactive mental or hyperactive physical. So this is the second point in the SAD axis. Sociability we covered last time. Second point, activity. Now we are going to cover this activity and then see how the child is an hyperactive mental or a hyperactive physical. And in the last video I am going to talk on the destructibility axis. So please watch this video, and mind you, I am repeating again, watch this video again and again, because the more you observe the child, more you become perfect in your prescription. Let's now continue the video.
और तंग करता है क्या रात को?
नहीं, रात को नहीं करता। अब तो सुसु करता है, अगर बाथरूम करता है तो उधर से होकर उल्टा हो जाता है, टर्न करने लगा है तो दूसरी जगह पे चला जाता है, गीली जगह छोड़ के।
अच्छा, बट उठ के एकदम क्रैंकीनेस या
नहीं, क्रैंकीनेस नहीं।
ऐसा कुछ नहीं,
बस कभी करके बताता है कि मैं गीला हो गया हूँ, मुझे चेंज कर दो।
खाली करे होता है,
रोता नहीं है।
बड़े दिन ऐसा गीला हो गया तुरंत चेंज करो या ऐसा कुछ
बता देता है। उस एक्चुअली क्या होता है कि फ्लिप कर जाता है, अगर फ्लिप कर जाता है तो मैं इसे देखती हूँ तो उल्टा हुआ होता है, तब मैं इसको उठा के चेक कर लेती हूँ। कभी कभी ये बताता है उल्टा होके कि मैं गीला हूँ।
करता है कि जोर से रोता है?
नहीं, करता है, रोता नहीं।
जोर से कभी
जोर से नहीं।
इसको भूख लगी तभी क्या करते हैं?
अब भूख में नहीं रोता ये। एक्चुअली कभी कभी अगर बाहर होते हैं तो ये भूख भूल जाता है, बताता ही नहीं है कि भूख लगी है।
ऐसा भूख लगी तो एकदम यार जोर से रोना, ऐसा कुछ?
कभी कभी अगर बहुत तेज लगे तब बहुत जोर की रोता है,
बट अदरवाइज
रोता नहीं है। अदरवाइज रोता नहीं है।
अच्छा, एकदम हंसती रहता है?
हाँ, हंसता खेलता रहता है। हंसता खेलता रहता है।
आज आपका इंटरव्यू था ना? क्या पूछा था? बड़ी स्कूल में गए थे आप? बड़ी स्कूल में क्या पूछा आपको? हाँ?
How are you? डायरेक्ट स्टूल्स कैसे लाल बॉल ठेव येलो बॉल ठेव हा काढून लाल बॉल ठेव तो काढून येलो बॉल ठेव
उसका वो पानी में खेलने गए रॉबिन अरे मुंह कदाने काम की होनी चाहिए
ओके 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 Sit down. Sit down.
नहीं डॉक्टर अंकल है वो
ओए 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 नो 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 नो
अंकल अंकल आपको मस्त टॉयज लेने दे अरे माय गॉड
स्किन
हाँ बेबी और ओके ओके अच्छा ओके ओके यहाँ पे ओके हाँ करते जाइए
बैठ जा बैठ जा
बहुत ज़्यादा एक्साइटिंग वाओ नाइस टिया का फेवरेट फ्रूट है ना
टिया
नहीं सही
घर पे क्यों जाना है तेरे को
बस 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 नहीं करते बस बस इतना टॉयज दिए
अच्छा टॉयज ले टॉयज टॉयज ओके टॉयज
ओके हाँ
हाथ तो लगाएगा सर पे हाथ लगाएगा पसंद इधर लगाओ इधर लगाओ
गिली ओके ओके सेकंड लास्ट
ओके ओके
थैंक यू अच्छा हमें लगा दो उधर
ये ऊपर बैठ पापा करेंगे
अच्छा पापा करते पापा का किधर पेट किधर पापा का क्या है ये क्या है क्या है
टेबल पर करेंगे ओके 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 चलो
चलो
हाय तनिष. उसका ले लो मुंह से, मुंह बढ़ा लो.
She
तनिष.
dirty. She dirty. ऐसा लग रहा है जैसे इसका बॉडी भी वार्म है. 99 तो होगा ही. मेजर टेम्परेचर मेजर नोट नहीं किया बट होगा. ये जल्दी बनता है. नाइस टाई.
इसका नेचर कैसे है? जरा इसका नेचर के बारे में बताइए.
नहीं नहीं ऐसा नहीं. देखो देखो.
कैमरा है बेटा.
ओ नहीं. हाँ देखो देखो.
फाटो फाटो.
हाँ बोलो. आप इधर देखो मैं दूंगी. आप इधर देखो मामा खिलौना देखो.
इसको भी रखिए.
इसका एक्चुअली 5-6 दिन पहले इसको वायरल फीवर था. हमारे बैंक के जो डॉक्टर आते हैं सर, उन्होंने देखा ही कुछ दवाई दी.
प्लीज.
साथ में गुस्सा करें.
हाँ.
अब इसका जो खांसी है सर, ये
छोड़ो उसका हाथ.
10 मिनट घर में तो पूरा ऐसे खांसते खांसते उल्टी भी कभी कभी कर देता है. और ये इतना 100
ये इतना चिड़चिड़ा क्यों हो गया?
शायद
क्या? ये ले. ये प्रेस कर लो. You do. Okay.
To watch more videos on homeopathy and homeo care, subscribe to our YouTube channel Homeo Care. Do like, share and comment. Press the bell icon for regular updates. You can visit our website for more information.